Hey, friends. Happy Friday. Great week, I think. I hope it's been a good week for you. And I continue to ramble on unfiltered and for a short period of time each day as a commitment to myself, which started at the beginning of last week with, a couple days off here and there while I ran a marathon and I took one other day off, but try to remain consistent with these short posts because I talked about in a previous post the importance of consistency in a world that just is swirling around with uncertainty right now. People react to this in a multitude of ways, some of which we meaning I have spoken to, and I hope it's resonated with people who eventually view this throughout this challenging time. One email I got last night was about people expressing themselves through forms of hatred. And this hatred specifically was in the form of what's called a Zoom bomb. So, when you photobomb someone, you jump into the photo right when they're trying to take it with somebody. So Zoom bombing apparently has been going on as Zoom meetings are way up on the rise, right? So virtual meetings for everything, both for workplace meetings and just social groups. Two examples, one man or person went into a Zoom and started yelling racial slurs. Another was during an Alcoholics Anonymous online meeting, somebody Zoom bombed and was encouraging participants to drink alcohol. So why do people express hatred? I was asking myself this question this morning, and I think that I've landed on one sort of simple answer, and it relates to something that your mother told you when you were growing up and you came home from school and you were crying because a kid was mean to you, and you said, "Why do they hate me? I didn't do anything to them." And your mother might have told you, just ignore it. The best thing to do is ignore it. So when people express hatred, sometimes it's their way of actually validating themselves and getting attention. Okay. One might argue that I am seeking to validate myself and seeking to get attention, to be seen in the world by doing these posts. And you would be right. So does that make it bad? No. Does going into a Zoom, a conference or whatever, and basically expressing outward hatred towards an out group or someone who you feel is not like you, or just, spouting off at somebody and hating somebody just for being the way that they are, a bad thing? Yes, it is. Undoubtedly so. But what's worse than the hatred itself is reacting to the hatred. Okay, so the hatred, it can be a very unanswered emotion. You don't have to respond to people who are projecting their own issues onto you, to people who are saying negative things. You sometimes have to put on a layer of what I used to call my Teflon. So I'd put on my Teflon, right? Those nice non-stick Teflon pans, everything just slides right off. Not super easy to do sometimes, to have that sort of internal resiliency to leave hatred unanswered. But I tell you now, or I challenge you to think of another more suitable alternative to simply ignoring hatred. This comes with the exception, of course, that when hatred is accompanied with action in terms of inflicting pain on somebody, yes, absolutely, that needs to have a responding action to it. But if someone's just going around Zoom bombing and hating on people just because they want to get attention, I almost have to laugh because it's so pitiful. And instead of answering with hatred, if nothing else, feel compassion for the person, feel sorry for the person. And the Bible says, You should pray for your enemies. You should eat with sinners. You should acknowledge people who are not following a righteous path because they need it the most. So I leave you to your weekend with that today. Thank you for listening. I look forward to seeing you tomorrow.